We're here this morning with some friends from North Carolina Theater, and I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll talk about some exciting news from North Carolina Theater coming this next season.
Hi.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Doran. I'm the president and CEO of North Carolina Theater.
And I'm Eric Woodall. I am the producing artistic director of North Carolina Theater.
So tell us kind of how you, just a quick minute version of how you got here.
Well, I've been producing theater for about 20 years. I've been running regional theaters. I've run smallest to largest. I found North Carolina Theater in 2017 as I was looking for a new president and CEO. And I was attracted to the region, the incredible high quality of the productions at North Carolina Theater. Its youth conservatory has a strong focus on bringing youth into the world of theater and sometimes onto our main stage. And so my family and I moved here from the West Coast, and we've been here for about 2.5 years. Love it.
And you're never moving.
Who wants to ever leave the Triangle?
Right.
This is a beautiful place to live.
Yes.
How about you?
I am originally from this area, not Raleigh exactly, but a small town, Benson, North Carolina. And was here until through high school, and then went to college away, and then moved right to New York. So I've been away for 27 years, working in various aspects of the business as an actor, a director. The last 16 years I was working as a casting director on Broadway with Tara Rubin Casting. Through the years, I would come back and direct shows. When I was in high school, I should add, I was in shows here at North Carolina Theater, and it was left such an impression on this young boy to be able to sing and dance alongside some of Broadway's brightest and with amazing local folks. And it planted seeds in knowing that this is what I wanted to do. So it feels like an amazing opportunity and full circle moment to be able to come back and bring the knowledge that I have in the business and share it with everyone here and mix it all together and see what we can grow.
Excellent. Now, we ran into each other at the last show, which was Annie, which was an amazing show. And you told me about some really interesting and good news coming up for the next season, something that was a first for North Carolina Theater, I think.
Yeah, so North Carolina Theater is about 35 years old. It has been producing its work. In our world, there's two kinds of theater: producing, presenting. Presenting means you're bringing it to have your audience enjoy it, but you didn't yourself put every little bit together. Producing means you did. So North Carolina Theater has had a history of mixing it up, sometimes producing, sometimes presenting, especially when you have set elements that are very complicated, that are helpful to have someone else just provide, like Matilda, Lion King, yeah, magic-y. And yet you're not necessarily really showing off the artists of North Carolina in your work if it's coming from out of town. So we really care a lot about that, and the first thing North Carolina Theater did a little bit after I got here was say we need a great artistic director who can help point our direction, and brought in Eric for that purpose, and then said, now let's produce all of our own work. And maybe you could speak to that, but it's really fulfilling a vision that the board of trustees and that the community and that I had for North Carolina Theater, which is to do our own work in response to the needs of our community. So maybe you could talk
Yes. I mean, originally North Carolina Theater could boast that they produced all of their own work and made it right here. And then through the years, as Elizabeth just said, it morphed a bit. And so to our theater-going audience at North Carolina Theater, most people would have no idea that some shows are made here and some shows are tours. And that's fine, but we take pride in knowing that we're making everything here for next season. And to do 6 shows like that is brand new. And what that means is that we're actually providing something that's different from DPAC or other places that present incredible tours. Coming from the casting world, I cast a lot of those tours, and they're wonderful. And it's a way for audiences to see some great titles. But what we do is take those titles and put our own spin on them. And we employ, for each production, it's over 100 local people that get experience and jobs out of the shows we produce. And the tours can't say that, because the tours are blowing in and doing the show and blowing out, kind of like the circus. And that's not the way it is for us. So I think the more that we do that, and the more that we're able to show our audiences that we're producing everything, they'll start to come to know, oh, that's North Carolina theater. And the shows will have a certain feeling and be at a certain level. And I think that helps define our brand and our identity. Which we are continuing to develop.
And in fact, you mentioned Annie, which Eric beautifully directed.
Thank you.
Had a great feeling of that, very high quality. 65-70% of the people on the show were from North Carolina, alongside a Tony winner, current Broadway actors who had taken a break from Broadway just to do Annie and then right back on.
That's right.
And in our youth conservatory, we did Annie Junior. So the first time ever we tied our youth training to our main stage work. So we went from seeing our production of Annie with 31 orphans and all of this beautiful artistry and great feeling, to our youth conservatory to see it again, now with 45 kids in it from the region who want to learn about musical theater, and how fun it was to connect those, because Eric made sure that artists from our main stage show came and did master classes with these kids from our community who were taking a summer camp with us around a show that actually was on our main stage. So we've really begun to combine the ideas about youth development into our ideas about bringing forth a show for our community.
So you're nurturing your own future talent.
And audiences.
Yes, and
That's true,
it is. It's education all the way around, and it's providing opportunities. I mean, North Carolina Theater has been wonderful in the past with providing great opportunities for a lot of youth. We are continuing that. We're carrying that baton, and we're increasing in any way that we can. So, for instance, shows that don't necessarily have kids, we're thinking outside of the box. Well, it says, why can't young adults who are in our conservatory play some of these roles to give them that experience? And so we're broadening that a bit so that we provide even more opportunities.
And my first show here when I came actually was being directed by Eric Woodall, which was Jesus Christ Superstar. And it was, first of all, a beautiful production, musicians on stage. It was our production, and the cast was very diverse. And I was very excited about that, because one of the things that really matters to me is audience and artist development around diversity and inclusion. And here was this production with a beautiful world view on the stage representing everybody in the triangle. We're being seen on stage. You could see yourself reflected. And the kids from the conservatory, I couldn't tell who was who. I was really looking. It took a little while for me to figure out who was just plain old youngest, but they were so talented. Just everything was very balanced around an excellent production. Well, and so I was thinking, I made the right decision.
Well, thank you for that. I did talking about the diversity piece, and diversity on all levels, diversity, with different ethnicities and cultural backgrounds, but also, as we continue to work with actors with disabilities, and, even providing equal and more opportunities for women in a business that can be male heavy, so I think we're very aware of that with the titles that we choose, and also I'm aware of that with decisions that I make with people on stage but also off stage, because that makes a difference. And when I was in casting, it's something, the diversity in casting was such an important element of what we did. And so it's equally as important, if not more, to make sure that that is carried over onto the stages here. Because we should see ourselves, we actually see ourselves more represented on television and in the news, on the news, like the anchors. there is a great effort made to make sure that there is representation. So we are doing that as well, and it might not just be a show. It's wonderful to do an all African American show, an all Latinx show. It's fantastic. However, at the same time, we are committed to doing shows that might, quote unquote, be white shows, and not have them be perceived that way, so that it's allowing people to think about things in a brand new, fresh, modern, contemporary way.
Mm-hmm. And also, some of the greatest American musicals were written in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, and that music and those stories deserve to be told, and we want to honor them.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they need to be told in the context of today. So there needs to be relevance in that. At our heart, and I think at the heart again of our board, of our staff, of our constituents, we've really taken a deep dive on our company values. We want to express compassion. We think the theater art form's purpose is to drive empathy, bond people together, create unity, even when you're looking at division. And we're really excited about that. I've read some really cool studies about why people attend the arts, and they do it not necessarily because of the art first. They do it because they want to be together with family and friends, and then they choose what kind of art. Mm-hmm. But mostly, how can I hold hands with someone I love for 2 hours tonight? And we honor that open heart moment by bringing in stories that can get in there while your heart's open,
Mm-hmm.
And that is really, that's my favorite part about what we do.
I love that too, and I think also, it's thrilling to do that with all different styles of theater. There's nothing better than looking up at a packed house and seeing everyone laughing as hard as they can. And then, on their feet, clapping, singing along. We've had that happen several times this season.
What, Annie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It did. In Mamma Mia, they were dancing in the aisles,
Yeah.
And so seeing that, you feel like this is human sharing. And it doesn't have to necessarily feel important in the moment, but it is. And I think that's our responsibility as artists and folks that are, looking after the theater here and thinking what statement do we want to make? And we want to entertain, and we want to inspire, and we want to challenge.
Mm-hmm. And let me throw one more thing, and that is, I love this word. I've been thinking about this word, to attend, because it means I attended the show, I showed up, but it also means to take care of something and to take charge of something. So when we come together like that, we're attending together and in a world that we feel ever more pushed to be separated because it's kind of scary to leave our houses. And so when we come together like that, we're taking charge of our society too. We're saying, no, we're going to be together and we're going to take care of each other. And I love that about what we do.
Yeah.
And I would throw out I love what you guys are doing around hyper-localism, looking at downtowns, looking at Raleigh and what makes it special for people like us to come and connect into and try to, just like you, bring out the best in our city. Right. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, there's enough bad news and negative comments and reviews, so we only do positive things, and there's plenty of positives. Sometimes you have to look for it, but it's there, and then when you find it, you promote it and you tell people about it, and then other people talk about it, and then hopefully the positive grows more than the negative. So.
Yeah.
So what are your shows coming up? So you have six shows
we do
for the next season?
We do indeed. Our new season is just about to start. I mean, to us, it feels like we've been in it for a year almost, because we've been planning and getting ready, and we're so excited to finally share it with everyone. But we kick off next month with West Side Story, which is such a fantastic classic. One of the all-time favorite musicals in musical theater, with some of the most incredible music, and a story, of course, based on Romeo and Juliet. And this incredible love story that really examines human nature the good and the bad. And so we can't wait to do that timely show with our Raleigh audiences and inspire. Then we go right into Having Our Say, which is a play about the Delaney Sisters that were the Delaney family. You can talk probably a little about the Delaney family, and they were so important to this area. And
so there's a wonderful play called Having Our Say, the Delaney Sisters' First 100 Years, based on a book that was a best-selling book. And actually produced this show in another city, and there it was really about two African-American women who reflect the whole world of civil rights and America through their story. Here, they were from Raleigh, and they are enigmatic, but in fact, they come from a fabric that all contributed to the civil rights movement, to America, right? And so when we tell their story here, we are telling a story of the Delaney family. You know, we're talking about people who were trailblazers, you know, doctors, attorneys, landowners, you know, important people in the community. Bishop, the first African-American bishop of the Episcopal Church was Bishop Delaney, the father of the Delaney Sisters, who were raised on the campus of St. Aug's. Though they were born out of town, they were raised here.
Right.
And their mother, also very important to the community, just community builders. And these two women went on to New York and lived through the Harlem Renaissance. And you were talking about 100 years of American history through the eyes of these sisters, plus sisterhood, you know, being a woman. So we are very excited to do it here, and we've really connected with St. Aug's, as well as been able to touch base with the Delaney family, and we're really beginning to work with our African American community around the show.
That's correct.
So there will be the annotated The Delaney Sisters show, you know, there'll be packaging around the product, you know, and more we'd like North Carolina Theater to be able to do that enrichment work by connecting very specifically to partners in this community who would like to help tell their story through the work on our stage. And that will help diversify our audience, will help to make sure we are relevant, and make sure that we're telling stories that our community wants to hear.
That's right. And one of the things that we're excited about with Having Our Say, so the play is the sisters, but obviously they have passed away. They lived both to be over 100 years old each. And so there are two actors portraying the sisters, and they're speaking to the audience, and they are preparing a dinner. It's on the anniversary of their father's birthday, and so you really have this, and we're doing this in our the Fletcher Theater space, which is the smaller, more intimate space. And this play was so successful on Broadway because it tells a great African American story, but it feels universal. And especially our audiences being Southern will take one look at these ladies and hear this dialogue, which is so real because it really was dictated, it came out of their mouths, and they will know these ladies, and be inspired, and really it's quite moving, but it's also very funny because they are, you know, very straightforward and and tell it like it is. So we're thrilled about that show.
Excellent. So that's two.
That's two. Then we move into the new year. We move into 2020, and right around Valentine's Day, our Valentine's Day show, we are thrilled to be doing Kinky Boots. And we were one of the first regional theaters that was able to get the rights because it's been around for a few years. It just closed on Broadway, but the tour was very successful and kept going around. And what a lot of listeners and audience members may not know is while something is still touring, and often while it's still playing on Broadway, we're not able to get it. you know, and that's why people say, why can't you do, you know, blah, blah, blah. Why can't you do, well, we would love to, but the rights aren't available. So as soon as the rights for Kinky Boots were available, we jumped at it because it is such a show of celebration, such a show of joy. It talk about being universal, and it shows two guys from two different sides of life coming together with a common purpose, a common need, and seeing how that works. And when they make that decision to come together with a business venture, how it changes everyone's lives around. So it's a wonderful message, and Cyndi Lauper wrote the music, so you can't get better than that.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah. Then we go into Memphis, which is another show that we think our audiences will be excited about because it takes place in Memphis and it has this southern feel to it. And it's right around the birth of rock and roll. And this really engaging story of folks who come together at a time where it's difficult for them to come together, but it follows the rise through the music world, and we're thrilled. I can't yet announce some of the people that are coming to work on these things because it's not like 100% or done deal.
Yeah.
But we are so stoked about some of the talent that's coming to work on these shows, and Memphis is one of those, to see the amazing dancing that's going to be on that stage upstairs. We're thrilled about it.
Our dancing has been so good this year. I just want to throw out, it's been good. Really excited about it. Our choreographers that Eric's been able to bring to us are just top-notch Broadway choreographers. And so I've seen everything from tap dancing to Brazilian street dancing in our shows. It's a really exciting
And we're about to see
element.
amazing ballet.
Beautiful ballet.
In West Side Story.
And also Memphis, I love Memphis because it tells the story of the influential DJs of the 1950s, 60s era. And nowadays the influencers are you, right? So people who can get onto the media. So you know, where are you? Podcasting, YouTubing, print. Back in this time, to get messages out, they would rely on these influential DJs. And so this is the story of that influencer in Memphis and how he helped to move the society forward through segregation into integration through music.
Right.
And it has a really powerful female as well.
Yes.
Very strong starring female role, story, and a wonderful actress I'm sure will play that role. And we're talking to Shaw University, another historically black college so we're working with St. Augustine's as well, about them working with us on some of this. Again, how do you have a good partnership around a show to really inspire and invite the community in? Shaw was one of the first publicly owned radio stations that were held by a university, or they had a cool radio story that we're learning. They just sold that. So you may know more about this than I do, but they sold that station finally. But they had this really important history around that radio station. That Shaw University, which again was involved in the birth of the civil rights movement with SNCC forming there, their radio station was a part of telling the story of civil rights. So it's great that they are interested in talking with us about that.
Absolutely.
So that's Memphis.
Yes. Then we go, and I should say too that the shows that are in the larger theater in Memorial Auditorium will be West Side Story and Kinky Boots and Memphis so far of the shows that we've spoken about, and then Having Our Say, and then our next show, Edges, will be in the Fletcher Theater to create this more intimate space. So Edges is something that we're so excited about because it's a title, I think some people thought, I've never heard of that, and maybe felt like they should have heard of that. They shouldn't. There's no reason that people would have necessarily heard of that. I mean, some of our younger musical theater students, around Elon and some of the schools around have been so excited that we're doing it just because they know it very well. But Pasek and Paul are writers that wrote Dear Evan Hansen, and they wrote the music to La La Land, and they wrote The Greatest Showman. And so these guys are really on the rise. And while they were still in school together at the University of Michigan, they wrote this song cycle called Edges, which is we're really describing it as being on the edge of many things. I was speaking with the director who is going to be doing this show, and he was saying it feels like he wants to examine what's holding everybody back. Why are they on the edge and perhaps scared to take that next step? And goodness, we can all relate to that, especially young folks. And so we're hoping that this is an opportunity to excite a lot of our young theater goers in the area, and not just high school, not just college, but even young professionals, because there are so many great folks working in this area now that if we can make it kind of cool to come out and listen to some really amazing music, that's what we're hoping.
The harmonies I find in this piece are so beautiful.
Well, tell about your history with this show. So, Elizabeth,
Well, so once upon a time, I ran a theater with a wonderful artistic director named Maggie Mancinelli Cahill, and she brought us this director and this show because I said, we gotta do a new play festival. Let's do some new works. And she said, got it. Boom. She pulled this show from New York that was just beginning to be heard, and we put it up. Yeah. And for young, at the time I would have called these, I guess, millennials, the digital natives now, were in the show. And Eric actually came from New York to see it. We sat near each other, not knowing future life together.
That's right.
And both were amazed by, at that time, the beauty of these harmonies. Also the way the music flowed in and out. It was so non-traditional musical sounding to me. And now I hear it a lot more. This very introspective and beautiful and harmonic, layered songs. This is not like a funny thing happened on the way to the forum, you know? But it has, I think, influenced. These guys have been incredibly influential in music. In music, not just in theater, but I suspect that has now influenced other kinds of music we're hearing coming out of, other cities that are just more music focused.
It's true, and to be able to revisit a piece like this, at that time, they were just starting out. In fact, I think that was one of, if not the first professional venture that they had, and now they are uber successful. And to explore that music again, which has great heart and great humor and such honesty in the thoughtful lyrics. There's 4 performers on stage that go in and out of different characters. Their relationships will change based on what song is being sung, and so it's going to be really exciting to see that artistic theatrical element happen right before an audience's eyes. But it is the inspiration of music, which segues beautifully into our final show, which will be back on the main stage in Memorial Auditorium, and that is The Sound of Music. And
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, I think so. And we're counting on that. We're counting on people with the love of that show to come, and a show like The Sound of Music, there can be a lot of preconceived notions about what that show is. And with a lot of these shows that have been around and people have seen many times, let's be frank, people can roll their eyes and say, oh, not that again. Well, we hope that people don't feel that way about this show, because we're approaching it in a fresh, new way. Now, we're not going to change things up. We're not going to change the music or the script. We can't. And we wouldn't dream of it.
No Lederhosen?
Well, to be seen, but I think we have the ability through casting choices and directorial choices to do things that can feel slightly updated, and to feel like that an audience today doesn't feel removed from. That's really important to Elizabeth and I, that we approach our material and it feels like you can touch it, that you can relate to the life that you're seeing up there, and you don't feel like, oh, that's nice, that's precious. I talk about this a lot in classes and when I direct shows. Every older show was contemporary. When it came out, it was Dear Evan Hansen. People don't like to think that Dear Evan Hansen will be an old rickety, period piece.
One day.
But it will. Rent already is a period piece. But things that come out as trailblazers, Hamilton will be a period piece. And so it's important for us to know that you don't have to just do it the way it's always been done. It was done in the moment to be relevant. And so we can approach those shows in the same way today.
Something in the 80s hip hop version?
Maybe. We'll see about that. I know.
So if people want to, they can still buy season tickets, still available, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have our minis on sale, so you
And
can buy a
what's
full
a mini?
subscription to all 6 shows.
Mhm.
You can buy a few shows under a subscription where you get to pick your seat and then sit in and own that seat. You know, you get special pricing and special other touch points with us, connecting you to our work as a subscriber. You know, North Carolina Theater is a charity. We are a nonprofit, though we are putting on big shows and selling tickets, but only about 75% of our costs are covered by ticket sales, and the rest come from donations. So we also have super subscribers who give gifts as well. We serve 10,000 kids in the schools for free in the classroom in Wake County, teaching them about drug and alcohol abuse avoidance, conflict resolution, bullying. We do that through our charitable work of the conservatory. And we have a program called Share the Stars, where thousands upon thousands of families come to see our shows for free on our final dress rehearsal and throughout a run. And we, for example, had 700 people in the audience, or it might have been 8, for Beauty and the Beast, for our final dress rehearsal, including 250 people from Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. So we have connections to other charities and the military and other social services who make sure people show up. So we don't just say, oh, we give away tickets. We have thousands of people come. And so, you know, we have our new accessibility programming for families with autism called ASAP. We have our All In project, which is really working on community development and audience development, reaching and partnering with communities that were previously underserved by the arts and by North Carolina Theater. So we have a lot going on. And so we welcome gifts, of course. We want people to come in and be part of our family.
Excellent. So what's the website for North Carolina Theater?
It's nctheater.com, THEATR8.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So they can find the phone number for the box office on there, all the shows that are upcoming.
And
Pick
we're
your-
on
pick your
all the
tickets.
social media.
Yes.
You know, follow us.
And also the same to be said for looking for audition notices, because we are not a community theater. We love community theater. We believe in the community base in our professional theater. And what that means is we are mixed with all of our performers will be working professionally when we do productions here, but you know, over half of our cast are cast here locally. So, and certainly people that we work with behind the scenes. So it is, you know, talking about community theater versus professional theater, that's like sometimes it's semantics in a way, because we believe in being a huge part of this community. We need the community and we want to give back to the community. That's been the success of the theater in the past, and that's what's going to keep us driving forward.
Yeah, and I find that this theater company, more than any I've been associated with over the course of my career, particularly because of the work we do with youth and this local inclusion, this company is answering some of the questions I have in my mind as I drive to work every day and listen to the news. Like, how could that be happening in this world? What can we do about this? You know, how do I keep my kids happy in this world? You know, there seems to be so many things going wrong. What could be going right? Oh, great human potential, incredible artistry, and storytelling that dives deeply and even gets at stuff that might be back here and not up here and in here for me. And so I want our audiences to have that opportunity to get at that, you know, for a couple of hours every now and then, because it's very refreshing. It's important to refresh your sense of wonderment, because that's the piece that kids need, that adults need the most, right? And so that's why, Eric, you have, you know, all this work to do. And you're making it happen. A lot of these pictures behind us relate to some of the great wonderment that Eric has brought to our stage.
Yeah. That might be time.
Oh, no.
It's time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for
And,
having
look
us.
forward to the next season. Thank you for being such a big part in the community and keeping it local.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.